forest today. Just coming over here to check on, how things are growing and, getting some weeds out and doing some general work, some cleanup. So I thought I'd take you guys along with me and give you a tour. We are now in the middle of summer, so this will be our summer food forest tour. Moving forward, I think I'm going to try to do a summer, winter, fall, spring, seasonal food forest tour, right? Because month to month there might not be that much growth on trees, so it might be more helpful to see it every so often, right, on a seasonal basis, so you can see what's going on. We have had a lot of different stuff going on since last time I shared with you guys. A lot of things growing, things starting to fill in, some triumphs with getting the deer out of the forest, and then some setbacks, so I will share that with you guys as well. I will let out the chickens, so you might hear that in the background, of course, because if I don't let them out, they will go insane. And then get this net open, right? This is what's stopping the deer for right now from going into the food forest. So open that up and show you guys what's going on. Now these guys in here are separate from our regular chicken flock. They all kind of like hid over there when they heard me opening this little gate thing I have here. But these ones are meat chickens, and they are almost ready actually to be butchered out. So they are getting very close to that. I think it's like what, 6-month mark is usually when we butcher them, but they're growing pretty fast. They are different breeds, so different kind of heritage breeds of chicken. They're not the regular meat chickens, but they are what we use sometimes for meat chickens when we buy them from the hatchery. And so I will take you guys along on that journey as well. So as you can see, we've been using that fencing for all around the food forest, I mean to say. And we've been doing that for a little while now. Let me adjust the camera here. Whoops. There you go. So we've been using that netting for a little bit now. It works pretty well. We have it like tied up against the trees. We have had some issues with deer coming in, especially when the fence goes down, right? It's not the heaviest, most sturdy thing, but for the most part it works. And then if it ever does come down, like we've had recently in like a rainstorm or something like that, then we just go back and tie it up again. Alright, so I'm at the entrance to the food forest. This is what it's looking like right now. We came and brush cut quite a bit of it. It has been raining a ton, which is why we still have tons of grass, right? We actually just brush cut all of this, and we have more grass that's come up, all of these little grass shoots and different weeds and stuff. They're getting pretty tall again now, even though we just finished brush cutting, but that's summer in Florida. So we have our first guild over here. We have some blueberries, and as you can see, these blueberries have a lot of new growth on them. All right, they are, I guess, just getting ready for next season. Blueberry season here is over, but they are doing extremely well with the amount of water. So that is one blueberry plant. That is, I believe, a sunshine blue, so specific to this area. Now I have gotten in the habit of leaving some of these ferns around. What I've been doing, right, in true permaculture fashion is if I can't get rid of the ferns, which seems to be a very common theme in this area, right? Not being able to get rid of these ferns, no matter how many times I try, how much ground cover I put in. What I do is when I, see a bunch of them, I just pick them up and I leave them there. And you can see this decayed matter here. These are all ferns that I just did the exact same thing to, and then I kind of layer them. And yeah, it ends up being like this nice mulch that I use. And so I just come in here and lay down all of these ferns. And the problem becomes the solution, right? So that seems to really work very well with also getting rid of some of the other weeds and stuff. Of course, we still have like some grasses and things because I have not done a great job of getting in a bunch of these ground covers, right? We have some spearmint here, right? And then some lemon balm and some other things, but they haven't really spread as much as possible or as much as I would like. Oh, and that actually smells really, really minty when I'm running my hands through it now. But we still have a bunch of other stuff coming up. So step one was to plant out my main things, and then now I have to come back and actually get all of this ground cover. Although you can see that it is actually starting to spread, which is really nice. All of these are coming out from underground. All right, and this is actually much larger than when I planted it. I think it was last season or maybe 2 seasons ago. So it's working its way. It kind of like dies and comes back. But I have these planted in between some of the other plants. Now, of course, you can see some ferns in here. I'm gonna do the same thing and just like chop and drop and use them as mulch, which, you know, I leave them at the base of the fruit trees, which is great. This is a plum tree. This is one that I got from Tractor Supply. It is a methyl plum. Grows supposedly pretty well in this area. I don't know if you can see that. But you have, or we have, a whole bunch of these baby little leaves and a whole bunch of new growth, which I will say is brand new because, I get this to focus here, there we go. This was actually much larger. This was completely covered in foliage everywhere, all right? The entire thing was looking so nice for summer, and then the deer came through, and this is one of the first things that the deer got to, and so yeah, it's been working on coming back a little bit, although I mean this was completely void of any leaves a couple of days ago, so definitely glad to see a new progress. It doesn't seem like it damaged too many of the limbs, but yeah, you can see tons more ferns and then another blueberry. This one did have some damage. I'm not sure if that's from deer or just general like pest damage. I see some of the stuff missing, but in comparison to the deer problem we had last year, I'm very happy to report that it has been working really well, keeping out the deer. This is one blueberry. I think it's the same type of blueberry also. And then we have another blueberry. There was supposed to be something right here. I think it died, but you can see this intense layer of mulch that I have been adding to the soil. All right, so this is all of those ferns, which works really well. Another blueberry plant here, also getting pretty tall. And then you can see one of our, I think this is still spearmint. I know I had planted some lemon balm somewhere, but all of these little extra ones coming up through the soil, these little runners, that's exactly what we want in the food forest. I want this to be all ground cover, so ultimately it will be all of our fruit trees with mint on the bottom and then maybe some other things. I think this one over here is lemon balm, yeah. And then this is our other peach tree that we have. We have a few peach trees. This one is the Florida King peach tree that we planted as a bare root tree. Same thing with this one. It was completely covered in foliage, but glad to see it is actually coming back now with some new buds and leaves and everything. So, you know, you can't win them all, but it is still thriving in here, as far as I can tell. And then we have another blueberry plant here. So this guild really is, let me see if I can point it out, blueberry ground cover and ferns and stuff. We have like pine needles that just drop from the trees, and then we have we have our peach tree, which ultimately will be nice and tall, blueberry plant, actually that's mint, then blueberry plants, then another blueberry plant, plum, chickens in the background, another blueberry plants. So this area is going to be really full once it's done, and it's getting a good amount of water and sunlight. It has been pouring rain here, so I think that's done a really good job of kind of filling things in. Next to it, and if I can get you guys out of the sun for a minute, myself out of the sun, next to it is our lemon tree guild. This little lemon tree was looking super sad when I planted it. It was all yellow. It had a lot of foliage, but it had not been pruned at all, like ever, in its 5 years of life. Now I pruned this. I know it doesn't look like I pruned it recently, but I pruned it, and it ended up being these two, you can see that's one branch there and another branch coming up there. So 2 branches, and then I'm gonna try to make this one of the main stalks, and then another one coming out this way, and I'm gonna get rid of everything in the middle, and I don't want it to be a bush. I want it to be an actual tree where I can, you know, sit under it or walk under it and pick lemons. It has fruited in the past, but I'm trying to get it to the point where it's actually like growing and not fruiting right now, which it's doing a fabulous job of. But one thing that I did do with every single one of my fruit trees a few weeks back actually was I took the entire area of manure, I guess, and compost out of my chicken coop. So everything that was in the chicken coop, I scraped everything out. I mean, I left dirt and stuff that was, you know, maybe a few a few inches deeper. But I took all of the compost as much as I could manage, and I took it in wheelbarrows, and I came and I spread it underneath every single one of my fruit trees. Since then, every single one of my fruit trees, in combination with the amount of rain that we've been getting, has just completely exploded. You can see the amount of new growth on every single one of them. So all of these brand new baby leaves, you can see all the ferns in here as well. I'm just gonna come and drop, and then we have some grass that I try to get rid of, but the ferns do help with that also. Like, I don't want all of this grass in here. Grass really takes away the nutritional needs of the tree, but all of this stuff, I just kind of like drop it there, which works out. And then you can see how much green growth this has. I mean, this is all brand new growth from the past week or so. And I can't complain. The deer have not really gotten to this tree yet. This is a ponderosa lemon tree, so it's supposed to be great for lemon, or for lemon juice, for lemonade, right? You can see how nice the leaves are getting. And I will come back through again and prune this a little bit later, but it's turning out really, really healthy, super green, versus when I got it. I planted a whole bunch of marigolds. These marigolds, they're okay. They're not like too hot. They're a lot smaller than the ones on the other guild, but basically I have just taken marigolds, and every time, I think it was like one plant for everything, and I just take all of the dead, like I deadhead them. I'm looking for them, I don't see one right now, but I take all the dead flowers and I just scatter them everywhere, and then we get tons more marigolds, right? So that has been my method for seed saving marigolds. I don't really seed save, I just kind of distribute them whenever I see them. I'm doing some of my chop and drop right here at the same time as I'm talking to you guys, right? You can see massive grass in here, but I mean, in comparison to the total amount of area in here, it's really not that many weeds. So we had some strawberries in here also. You can see these are strawberries growing kind of like underneath the canopy of that lemon tree. The chickens were in here destroying all of the strawberries, which is why I don't let them out anymore unless they are in their like area where I can watch them all the time. But I am seeing some of the strawberries, I'm getting this out of the way here, I'm seeing some of these strawberries come back. So this one I hadn't seen before. This tiny little one is actually popping its head up. So, I mean, hopefully we actually get our strawberries back. And it doesn't look like we're gonna get all of them back, but we'll get a few of them. And then we have some lavender over here, which surprisingly is making its way back up. I have a bougainvillea that I put in here. That you can't really, I mean, it's doing okay. It's green, you know, it has leaves on it, but it's not really flowering. So not exactly sure why. I think maybe it's not getting the nutritional value that it's needing. And then we have some daisies in here, which haven't flowered yet, or rather they flowered originally and then they died and came back. So we have one daisy, two daisies there, and then some parsley that I had scattered, and it's finally starting to pop up. Right, and then some lemon balm also in here. That's pretty much it for this one guild. And then I have, right, this one next to it. So this is one we're just looking at. We have this guild here with all the marigolds in middle. And then we have this guild here with this big tree, the Moringa tree. So I'll actually, you know what, let me start with this one because then I can show you the blackberries after that. I have a little olive tree that I picked up and I need to get in the ground, so don't mind this. But this is one of the original guilds I started with. These were just basically, this was empty for a long time. This is sage, which smells amazing. I don't use sage too much for cooking other than for like Thanksgiving, but it's nice, smells great, and I just kind of leave it here the rest of the time. I have blueberries in here next to it. So if I could show you the layout, it's blueberry here, blueberry there, blueberry over there, and then the last blueberry on the other side. So it's kind of like a kidney shape, and all the blueberries go on this side. In the middle here we have some, besides the herbs, right, we have some marigolds, which are popping their heads up. We have lots of ferns. We have lots of mint. All right, this is just exploded. This isn't spearmint. I think it's like mountain mint or something like that. I got it as a tiny little baby plant, and it is just completely exploded all of this, which is exactly what I want for the food forest. I can see runners coming up everywhere. This is some milkweed, which has grown significantly since I got it. It actually died back in winter, and it's doing really well. And earlier I actually saw some butterflies, some monarch butterflies on this. They're just really, really pretty. And they pretty much flower all the time from what I can tell, besides when they die back in winter. You see some more here coming up and some more here, right? They kind of self-seed. And I have some spearmint on the other side here, along with my marigolds. Now these marigolds are really pretty. I mean, these are just absolutely killing it. And basically what I do, I take the dead flowers, right? I open them up, and I'm trying to do it with just one hand. And all of these little flower seeds inside, I just take them and I scatter them everywhere. Sometimes I scatter them in the food forest, sometimes I scatter them by the house, and then nature takes care of the rest, right? And we just have tons of marigolds everywhere, right? You can see some kind of like spilling onto the path here. Next to the last blueberry over here, oh, trying not to step on anything, is my aloe vera plant. Now this is my largest aloe vera plant. This one actually flowered, and it is doing so well. You can see all the pine needles, right? We are under a canopy of pine needles. Everything still grows, so I'm happy about that. But look at all of the new baby aloes that are coming out, all the leaves. And I use this more so in the summer, of course, but I have been using this quite a bit for like hair and stretch marks now that I'm pregnant, to avoid stretch marks. And I mean, I really like having the aloe. It is the largest one that I've had for a couple of years, and it's just done really, really well. My pomegranate, which is the main tree in this guild, did get mauled by the deer. I can't say too many of the branches got destroyed, which is good, but you can see all of the baby leaves that are coming back out now. A whole bunch of tender new green growth. Hopefully this will make a significant comeback. And it had its first little flower on it this season. It dropped, right? No fruit. That's still way too young for fruit, but definitely trying to make a comeback here, and I'm sure it will, right? It is doing a really good job so far. Right next to me here, I have some thyme, which actually had died back, and now it just came straight back. It smells amazing. Some weeds, right? So while I'm here, just come through and kind of like pick some of this stuff out and chop and drop some more. You can see how the weeds still make their way through, right? Even despite the, oh, there you go, the mulch layer. Oh, and I'm actually just noticing this is lemon thyme, because I got like a huge smell of lemon just now once I was like petting this. This is amazing. I would definitely recommend it. If you've never tried lemon thyme, I would add it to basically everything, but especially in eggs. You wouldn't think so, or at least I wouldn't think so, but this is amazing in eggs, and I love how it turns out. And then the last thing, actually not the last thing in here, but one of the last things in here is ginger, right? So this, I actually didn't realize it likes shade a lot more, and I planted it here in full sun, but seems to be doing pretty well. I have another sage, which is actually bigger than the first one right there. And then I have my oregano, and the oregano has gone to seed, or it's trying to go to seed at least, with all of these little pods, right? And they're really pretty. I've noticed that the insects love them, so I've just left them, and I'm gonna let it go to seed, right? I would normally try to stop things from going to seed, but we're in the food forest, right? So I am going to let nature take its course, and then I will be able to seed save oregano and just use it everywhere, and just, you know, it'll direct seed itself right there. And then I have a strawberry, which seems to be doing really, really well. And some of these like weeds still creep through. The goal, of course, is that one day all of this will be completely covered and we won't have any weeds, but that's not the case right now. We still have patches of bare soil everywhere, but you know, we're getting there, so can't complain. Now I do have these little lanterns. I got these for a couple of dollars at like the garden store. They are solar lights. They work really well actually. They are currently placed in full sun. I have one there one in the other guild because I noticed we had some possums and other things that were like eating some of my strawberries at night. I can't say if it works or not because after we put them on, or after we placed them here, the chickens came and destroyed all strawberries. So I'll let you know if they work, but they look really pretty at night in the guilds anyway. And then here next to the other guild, I actually have this bucket, which, you know, looks just like muddy water. But when we brush cut the entire food forest, right, you can see there's like clear paths now, whereas before it was mainly just grass everywhere, like as tall as myself. I took a whole bunch of that stuff, organic matter, and I put it in this bucket. And then I took a whole bunch of, you can see my reflection in the camera there. I took a whole bunch of like pine needles and some compost from the chicken coop and just a whole bunch of other organic matter. I stuffed it all down. You can see some actual like pine cones in there as well. And I just left it there. And it's been pouring so much that this has really filled up. It's been a couple of weeks that this is just stewing. So that is basically fertilizer, right, for all the trees. I forget the actual, I'm not sure how to pronounce the technique. All right, so I will leave it on the screen here. But basically it's when you use organic fertilizer, organic matter to make your own fertilizer. And it's like a lazy way of making fertilizer in my opinion, which I love. So I'm gonna see if that works. I think you have to like separate it into parts and like add more water to it because I think it's too potent to add on to like the guilds just like that. But I will be doing that and letting you guys know. I'm trying very hard to work on free and organic fertilizers that I don't have to buy from the store. Now this is my Moringa tree. Don't mind the porta potty behind that. The workers are still here. I'm trying to finish up the house, but you can see how absolutely beautiful these leaves have gotten. And this is such a fast growing tree. This tree here is actually, I want to say like 9 feet tall at this point. All right, so that is absolutely beautiful. I love the silhouette of this tree. It is kind of leaning, right, because we've gotten a lot of wind, a lot of rain. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to stake it up. We shall see. It kind of like started doing this thing where it's curving right at the top again, so I'm not sure. We'll see. I've seen people say you're not supposed to stake trees because then they become like really dependent on that. And I also haven't decided if I'm going to come and cut this yet. We have gotten this to be really, really thick here. All right, this is pretty thick, I would say. So about that thickness so far. And I have come out here and cut it a couple of times. You can see some new growth. So basically, if I did cut it, right, like right above a new nodule or a new leaf or whatever, what would happen is it would just start growing from that point on. And then you take these leaves and you use them in like stews, or you can dry them as a powder, which I've done in the past. I've dried this as a powder and then ground it up, dried up the leaves and then ground it up into a powder, I should say. And then just use it in like smoothies and other things, but it's so healthy for you and it grows so fast anyway. So I might do that and cut it back a little bit. This guild decided it was gonna grow a tomato. I'm not exactly sure where it got tomatoes from. I'm sure at one point I had tomatoes in here, maybe trying to grow them in a pot. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember what kind of tomatoes these are. I'm sure it's a tomato. I just don't know what it is. And so I'm just gonna let it go. There's a volunteer and there's nothing else around here. So I will just kind of like let it sprawl and see what it does. Now, this you can see was my sweet potato. The deer I've discovered love sweet potato, specifically the leaves, which is why all of these, right, they have barely any leaves. They spared 1 or 2 or 3, but the rest of my sweet potatoes, these vines over here, have very few leaves all the way across. Now, I have noticed that they do grow back. They are starting to come back a little bit, right? You can see where they're popping up. And on the other side as well, right, these go all the way across this guild. This is a huge guild, up until there, in like the form of a banana kind of thing. In this guild, we have the moringa, we have that one little volunteer banana, we have our sweet potato, and then we also have this orange tree. This is, I believe, a navel orange tree. I did not keep the tag on it. I can't really remember. Have some like leaf curl here or some sort of, I don't know if this was deer or if this is just bugs. I'm not exactly sure. But I did come through and prune this back because it was getting a little out of hand. This tree is, I want to say, like 2.5 years old, maybe a little bit more. It's getting really thick at the base, but I'm not exactly sure what to do with it. Hopefully it'll start, you know, growing the way it's supposed to. And I've tried looking for a lot of information on growing citrus and how to prune it. There's a lot of conflicting information on how to prune citrus and how to grow citrus, so I'm just kind of trying to go with what the tree needs. I've pruned it a little bit, and then we get some of this stuff, this like curl kind of thing. But either way, if you have any tips on growing orange trees, by all means. The lemon on the other side seems to be doing really well, and this orange, it's doing well, it's growing, but I'm not sure. You can see I did mound it right with the chicken manure compost that has been aging there for a while. And then you can see some of these leaves that are starting to come back as well for the sweet potato. And then in this field also, right, and I had imagined that this was all going to be sweet potato, but the deer keep eating it. And so now we're going to fix that and make sure the deer don't get back in here. And then we have our guava, which seems to be loving the compost that we added, right? Tons of new growth, loving the water. Definitely got a little bit of damage, but overall it didn't get hit too bad, or get munched on too bad, I should say. And then we are hopefully gonna start getting a lot of growth on this. I have had this tree for a while. This is actually one of the very first trees that I got. It's a pink guava, and I think I was definitely not giving it enough water. So now we've upped that, and hopefully you can see it's like maybe 2 feet off the ground now. Hopefully that'll start getting a lot bigger in the upcoming months. Next to it is my second aloe vera. All right, still doing really well, but much smaller than the other one. We have more sweet potato, more ferns. We had some flowers planted on here, and I can't remember what the flowers look like, so now I'm hesitant to rip out any of these, and I'm not sure what this is. I'm kind of gonna wait until I discover if these are the flowers or not. I can't really tell. I know that this is a weed because these are definitely not the flowers I planted, but I looked it up in my app that I have for like nature app. I don't know what it's called. And it said that these were great for bees and pollinators. So I decided to leave these. Couldn't hurt, right? And then our peach tree over here as well. It got stripped of its leaves, but I will say definitely growing back a lot of leaves now. So I wanted to show you guys our peach trees and our plum trees with a lot more leaves on them, but this is what we've got right now. Alright, so I'm going to come over here to the other side and try to get a better angle for you guys without that sun flaring. Here we go. So this is our blackberry patch here. Alright, it goes from like right in front of the porta potty, which I don't think you can really see it, but it goes from there all the way through here. And we have some blackberries that actually need to be trellised a little bit, but they've been growing a lot. You can see here, let me see, I have to come through and like tie them to the trellis. We have some that are almost done ripening. The birds have been sharing these a lot with us, so we haven't gotten a ton of them. We have some spearmint over there. We have another blackberry plant. In total we have, I think, 12 blackberry plants. And then I went through, just some moss off this, I went through, and in between I had originally planted some basil, but I don't think it was getting watered enough. We had an issue with the sprinkler not moving the way it was supposed to, and so it didn't really get enough water to this area. Blackberries seem to be doing really, really well. Hopefully they will give off a lot more blackberries next season. We just planted them this year, so can't complain. But yeah, this is our little stake setup system. Ultimately, right, because we do have some that are growing ridiculously well. Oh, and we have some sunflowers in here. I forgot to show you guys. These are kind of wrapping up for the season. But we have some blackberries like these ones here that are maybe 9 feet tall, right? They start here, they go all the way back here, all the way down, and then they wrap around that way as well. So I've been doing a lot more research and trying to figure out what's the best way stake blackberries, right? Because I don't want them to like run into each other like they've done here. This is actually not from this plant, this is from that plant. So I think I'm gonna do like an arch in like a fan kind of way on the trellis. I'll try to put like a little picture of what I mean up on the screen here. I think it's so far what I found is like the best method. And then we have a bunch of this stuff that came up, and I'm really not sure what it is. I threw a packet of seeds here, but I don't think this is it, to be honest. I think these are weeds, and I've kind of been hesitant to rip them up. But the bigger that they get, the more I think that they're weeds. So these might be getting a little bit of a trim here lately, or now in the future, I should say. And then we have a lot of new growth on these blackberries. So hopefully next season we'll have tons and tons of blackberries on this plant. I think this is a really good investment. And all of this brand new baby leaf growth I love. We have right there, we have a palmetto, right? So this palm looking thing is palmetto, fern in the middle of that. And then that plant right behind it, this thing here, is actually a squash plant. It is a Seminole pumpkin plant. So I actually planted that a while ago. I didn't expect it to survive because it wasn't getting a lot of water, and now it just took off. So I'm gonna let it go. Hopefully it ground covers the entire thing. And you can see all of these blackberries. I get constantly asked by the kids if these are raspberries. Raspberries do not grow in this area, and raspberries don't look like this, actually, I don't think. But blackberries start out this color and then end up turning black. And you can see here, it's actually starting to do that. So hopefully we'll be able to eat some of these. They have, from what I can tell, the one or two that we have been able to consume, they're very, very good. These are all Navajo thornless blackberries, right? We have this one, we have our little corner here, and then it turns. And then we have another two blackberries on this side. This one is doing really well, and this one is slightly smaller. But still, this one I think has a lot more pest damage, and I'm not exactly sure why that is. They're all kind of in the same little area. So that is our blackberry area. Dividing the blackberry area, or I should say connecting the blackberry area, right, that's our driveway out there, leading into the house over here, and you can see some muscadine vines growing up the little fence that we have, is our fig tree, right? So the fig tree connects this guild, the banana guild, with the blackberry patch. And the reason for that is because I had planted this fig tree here originally and I didn't want to move it. I felt that it was fine where it was, and so I just connected the guilds instead of having to move the entire thing. Alright, so in this fig tree area here, which is actually getting pretty large, this has really exploded. This was a little stick, and I was really sad about the fig tree not growing. I have had this fig tree since a long time ago, right? So maybe at least two-ish years, and it wasn't really doing anything. It was covered in scale, and it did not like what was going on, apparently. So I cut it down. I just cut it down to maybe about 2 feet in height, and then I poured a bunch of compost, like just straight up cow manure compost from the garden center. I just poured it all around, and then I noticed it started growing a lot more. So recently I did the exact same thing. Well, I didn't cut it, but I took this, right, and you can see under here, you can see all of this, like, but under here you can see I put all of this nice, really thick compost. This is the chicken manure compost. I came through and added a whole heap of this, and it's doing really, really well. So between the compost and the amount of water, we're getting a lot new bright green growth, and hopefully that means that this tree is happy and we will get some figs, which I am really, really excited about. But I can't believe how big these leaves are getting, because this tree was like on death row not too long ago. So definitely making a huge comeback. Alright, so I'm going to take you to the rest of the food forest. Now these guilds aren't, or these trees aren't really built out into guilds so much. But I'm going to mention them quickly because I've shown you guys them in the past, and I didn't want to, ignore the fact that they're there. However, we have not done guilds for these trees. They're kind of like in the back part of the food forest. And we will be building them up eventually once we can get more irrigation out here, and they've been doing okay. I won't lie to you guys. They're doing okay. So this is our Barbados cherry tree. It's actually getting very tall. It is about 6-ish feet right now, 7 feet almost. It is leaning, and it has tons of little flowers, or it had tons of little flowers on it. It since has dropped all the flowers, so you can see like some little flowers right here. And I'm not exactly sure why it does that every so often. Like, it'll flower tons and then drop a ton of flowers. We've been getting some fruit off of it, nothing extreme, but definitely doing something. Not sure exactly what, but it's grown a ton since we got it. And again, I wanted to stake it, but I wasn't sure if I should. And then now maybe I think I might prune it, but it's getting taller, so I'm not sure. If you grow Barbados cherries, feel free to let me know what you think I should do with this tree. I would like to get a lot more fruit off of it. And even if I thought originally it was that we weren't getting it a lot of water, but then we were giving it a lot of water and it still didn't really care for that. So I'm really not sure what I can do to make this tree happy. If you have any suggestions, I am open to them, so that we can get a lot more fruit. Now, directly across from it, we have our apple tree. This is an Anna apple. The deer seem to have especially taken to this one. It was completely covered in leaves, absolutely gorgeous, and now it's looking like this, but it's growing back, so I'll leave that alone. Nothing more to say on that one. I have my little bird bath here that I actually put some rocks in, and the pine needles just kind of drop in here every so often. But some rocks for the bees to land on and drink water in here. And then I have my bananas, which haven't really done a whole heap. I know that that's honestly my fault. I'm supposed to be giving them a lot more water than I am, but we're working on it. We're working on getting them more irrigation, more water out here to this area, and cleaning it up, giving them compost. We are working on it. We just brush cut all of this, and this grass here is up to my waist now again. Right over here we have a grapefruit tree. You can see like the area I put in compost, really like chicken manure compost, and this was light green originally, or rather not too long ago, and you can see all of the dark green leaves. I think they're actually changing color from the nutrition spike, so I'm really happy with this. I had pruned it a while ago because it had a lot of stuff wrong with it, and scale and all that, or something on it, and it seems to be doing really, really well. This is a flame grapefruit. I know I'm not supposed to leave these little tags on it, but I haven't come up with a better system to label them yet. So it's a flame grapefruit, and hopefully in the near future we'll be getting some grapefruit. Maybe not in the near future, but I am hopeful because I absolutely love grapefruit. In that back corner where the yellow sign is, you can see I have caution bees, so my beehives are over there. I won't be going into that area because I'm not dressed for it. And then we have our mango tree here, which I put this huge area of chicken manure compost in. These seem to have, or this tree has seemed to absolutely love this. You can see the soft leaves, the bright green growth. It's starting to firm up, right? But it's actually now almost as tall as I am. So almost, oh, there's something in there, living in there. And I won't disturb that. I'm gonna just leave those as is. And so, I mean, it's definitely doing what it's supposed to be doing, and hopefully we will eventually have mangoes. Now, mango trees grow huge. This is a Valencia mango tree, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this explode with growth in the next couple months up until it gets cold outside. The first mango tree we planted was also a Valencia Pride, but it got destroyed in the frost, and so hopefully this one will make it. I covered it last year, but the year before that we actually lost one, and then we came back and replanted, and it's looking pretty good right now. Right next to that, or like maybe 15 feet away from that, is our little key lime bush, and this actually died back because it wasn't getting a ton of water. Completely my fault again, but it's grown back. and it looks really good. I came through and I added in all the compost and chicken manure and all that. Got rid of some weeds and then it's looking really good right now. And I just put the little bricks around it so that like we don't mow over it. And then let's see, we have some mushrooms and stuff. And then our last tree over here, which is our mulberry. And you can see how big these mulberry leaves are. This is actually a Pakistani mulberry, right? So mulberries generally are smaller, I think. This one is supposed to get really big. And then a whole bunch of new green growth, and definitely got way darker in color. Nice green leaves since I came through and put all of that compost on it. Now I think eventually I'll probably have to prune this a little bit when it gets bigger. But for right now, I'm really happy with this. And these are supposed to be really fast growing plants also. So hopefully in the next couple of years, we'll get a lot of fruit off of this plant. Now one thing that we didn't plant, but they're everywhere in addition to the ferns, are palmettos. These are saw palmettos. You can tell where they've kind of been bashed around a little bit by the lawnmower or the brush cutter, right? But these are saw palmettos and I cannot for the life of me get rid of them, and I have given up trying to get rid of them once I found out how amazing they are for bees and how medicinal they are. So there was a good portion of time where I was trying to get rid of every saw palmetto that we had on the property. There's a lot of them around here. You just can't really see them since they're brush cut and they'll continue to pop their heads up. But we've been keeping them in the beds and preserving them as much as possible, some in the walkways and stuff, just because they are really, really good for the bees. And palmetto honey, saw palmetto honey, is supposed to be really good. So I've been leaving them as much as possible whenever I can. Alright, so that is pretty much everything right now that I have in the food forest. Most of it is not producing, right? Fruit trees take a long time to grow, and I didn't expect it to be so fast. We have gotten some cherries. We use the moringa a lot. I keep cutting that down, and we have another one in a pot somewhere that I have to plant. And the herbs mainly. And I also take a lot of these marigolds behind me somewhere, but I take those a lot home and put them in little vases, right? So that's something. And we got some blueberries our first season. Not a ton. We shared probably more than that with the bees and with the birds and the other creatures and squirrels and everything around here. The same thing with the blackberries. But we're getting something, right? And food forest is still young. Hopefully we will get a lot more guilds built out and a lot more irrigation, right? That was a big mistake that we made on our part with the irrigation setup early on. So we'll get the irrigation squared away and like extended to the rest of the area with more sprinklers and actual permanent setup, and then be able to plant out more stuff. And in the coming years, it'll explode with growth. So I enjoy making these videos for you guys. I enjoy sharing, if nothing else, to document my progress in the food forest as time goes on. If you like them, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.